Gospel of Matthew, the 4th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And he said to him, "All these I will give to you if you will fall down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. And I think I got a couple kids. You want to come up for a little bit? Timothy and Brandon, I think you're here. Come on over here a minute. See everybody? Good morning.
Good morning.
It does feel like spring out there, doesn't it? Awesome. Snow's melting. All right, I bet you know who this is. Ariel, right? The Little Mermaid. Have you both seen the movie? No, you haven't seen the movie? Oh, well, you're not going to be able to help me then. I wanted you to tell me what happens to Ariel. I need to tell you the story, right? Say that again. You do know.
She gave him her fins for feet.
She gave up her fins for feet. That's absolutely right. She lived in the ocean, of course. Those are a couple of her friends. But she wanted legs to walk on land and be human. She thought that looked like so much fun. So do you know how she got those legs? She traded them. That's right, the sea witch. She traded her voice, gave the sea witch her voice, because it was a beautiful voice, and she got her legs. But did it make her happy? No. No. What happened in the end? Do you remember? Did the friends come and save her? The prince fell in love with her. It's one of those good stories. But the thing is that what she discovered was her voice was an important part of her. And there was no reason to give it up. That was an important part of who she was. She thought there was something that she wanted instead. And that's kind of my point today. And what she discovered was who God had made her was just fine, was just the way it was supposed to be. Just like how God has made you is just the way it's supposed to be. We try to tell ourselves differently sometimes. We like, oh, this is me. I wish I was taller, because then I could reach better, right? Or I wish I had a better voice. Or I wish I could run faster than I can. We wish we could do different things. Maybe we wish we weren't as shy, or we wish that we weren't afraid of things. But you know what? Who God made us is just fine. So that's what we're going to talk about in the sermon today. And one of the ways we can remember that is over here by this. You can stand up here by me a minute. And come on over here. Do you remember what this is? Yes, very good. That's the baptismal font. What do I have in there this morning? It's cold. You want to check it out? Yeah. Now on Ash Wednesday, a few days ago, we made the sign of a cross on our foreheads like this. We did it with water and with ashes. And when you come up, if you don't take communion often, when we give you a blessing, we make the sign of the cross, right? You can do that now if you want. You can make a little one like I just was, or you can also make a big one like this. And every time we make the sign of the cross, it reminds us we belong to who?
Jesus.
Yes. We belong to Jesus. We belong to Him. He loves us, and He made us just the way we are, and that's all that matters. Make sense? Yeah. All right. I got a job to ask of you two today. I think it might have been. I'm not sure what it was. But I want you to hold on to those. And then, when it's time for the offering, I want you to be able to help the ushers with the offering. And I want you to go up and down the aisles, and if anybody has any loose change for the food shelf, you let one of these two guys know, okay? Does that sound okay? So if anybody's got any coins or anything and they want to add to what we're collecting for the food shelf, they're going to give it to you, you can put it in, and then when we bring the food up, which is what we're going to do at the time of the offering, you can bring that up as well. Can you do that for us? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming up. Henry Nouwen is a Catholic priest, writer, theologian. One of the things that he talks about is he says there are 3 lies of identity that all of us can buy into or that we tell ourselves. He says those 3 lies about ourselves are these. The first one is, I am what I do. The second lie is, I am what other people say about me. And the third lie is, I am what I have. I am what I do, I am what others say about me, and I am what I have. Now the thing about these lies is we don't necessarily buy into all of them or believe all of them, but my guess is if you sat here for a little while and thought about it, you would find probably that one of those lies perhaps resonates with you more so than the other two. That one of those lies is perhaps one that you wrestle with in your own life as well. And what's interesting is that in the scripture reading that we have today from the Gospel of Matthew, we see Jesus, of course, tempted 3 times. And each of those temptations correspond with one of these lies of identity that all of us can struggle with as well. So what we're going to do is look at those lies a little bit more, and then, of course, look at what Jesus says, and perhaps in that we can also find a way for ourselves to be able to loosen up the hold that a particular lie might have on us. So we're going to start with the lie that says, I am what I do. Now, if that one resonates with you, it's probably because what's important to you is self-sufficiency, being able to take care of things for yourself, as well as autonomy. And you want to be the very best person that you can be. You're likely also a very busy person, busy all of the time, because the lie that you tell yourself is the busier you are, the better you are, the more worth that you have. People who struggle with this lie might find these kinds of statements resonate with them. I am the income that I earn, or I am the titles that I hold, or the awards that I have received. I am my degree. I am what I have achieved. In our scripture reading for today, the tempter said to Jesus, if you're the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. In other words, if you are the Son of God, then prove it. Show these other people your power. Demonstrate. Show people who you really are. Do something about it. Now that next lie is, I am what others say about me. If this is a lie that might resonate with you, your concern is always for other people. And that's a good thing, right? To be connected with other people and to be concerned about other people. But sometimes the concern that you have is about what they might think about you or what it is that they will say about you. And when you buy into that, often that can overwhelm who you are. It can overwhelm your own self. So much so that you might be willing to sacrifice your very self just for the sake of others. In this lie, statements like this might sound familiar. I am what is expected of me. Or I am my social status. Or I am my circle of friends. In this lie, the tempter said to Jesus, well, if you're the Son of God, then throw yourself down. For as it is written, God will lift you up. In other words, if God really loves you, then I dare you to go ahead and test it. Jump and see if God really will protect you. Find out if other people and if your God really loves you as much as you hope. And then the final lie that we have, that we tell ourselves, is I am what I have. In that case, this is for those of us where security is very important to us. Security as well as loyalty to one another. And as a result, what you have and what you possess is what gives you your identity. Again, the more you have in this lie, the more you believe you are worth, or so you think. This lie might sound like this: I am the house that I own, or I am the car that I drive. I'm the cool new gadgets, or the fancy labels, or the expensive tequila. I am my bank account. In the final temptation that we heard Jesus go through in our scripture reading, the tempter took him to a high, high mountain where he could see all of the kingdoms and all of the splendor of the land. And of course, what he said was, I'm going to give all of this to you. All you have to do is worship me. In other words, if God is pleased with you, then show people how much God is pleased with you. Get as much as you possibly can. Show other people the security that you have, for this is a symbol of God's pleasure. And all you have to do, of course, is worship me instead of God. In each temptation, Jesus faced down that lie. That's the way we can look at it. In response to that lie that said, I am what I do, Jesus said, I've got nothing to prove. And instead of doing something, what Jesus did was nothing. And for those of us who might struggle with this lie, that's what we too can do. Absolutely nothing. You see, the answer to this lie, that I am what I do, lies in finding time in our lives to intentionally be still, to carve out times in our busyness to intentionally do nothing at all. And when we take time for stillness, then what we'll discover is that we are beloved because God says we're beloved. Not because of anything that we've done for ourselves, but because of what God has done. Now, in response to that second lie that Satan gave Jesus, I am what others think of me, Jesus again said, I've got nothing to prove. For after all, the truth is that we all belong to God. Now, for those of us who struggle with this lie, our best response is to find time for solitude in our lives, to actually find time to not be with those people that we care so much about and spend time with ourselves, alone, except of course we're not alone, we are in God's presence. And in the solitude, as we sit simply but firmly in God's presence, what we can begin to discover is that God doesn't attach any strings to our relationship with Him. And what we'll discover is the truth of the matter is the most important relationship that we can possibly have is the relationship we have with God. And it's in that relationship that we are reminded over and over again that we belong. And then finally there's that third lie, in which we believe that we can only be what we have. We know that Jesus turned his back on the tempter in this lie and proclaimed the only thing necessary is to worship and to serve God. Jesus knew that this is the act that pleases God. And Jesus also, of course, knew that God is pleased with us simply because God chooses to be pleased with us. For us to hear this, for those of us who might struggle with this lie, in order for us to begin to get into the truth, what we need is a time of silence in our lives. We need to be able to turn away and turn off all of those other distractions that get in our way so that we can listen, truly listen for the voice of God. And in the silence, what we're going to discover is the voice says to us, I am what you need. God will say to us, I am everything that you need. All you need to have is me. And it is my great pleasure to give this to you. It is my pleasure to give to you all that you need. So just like Jesus, we too might enter into a time of wilderness. And we also can confront the lie that tries to live in our lives as well during our wilderness times. Now I know, depending on which lie is the one that tries to live in you, to ask you to specifically and consciously enter into a time of either stillness or solitude or silence, that's hard work. That is not easy work. It's hard work to do those kinds of things in order to stand up to that lie that tries to claim you. It's easier, rather than enter into a time of stillness and do nothing, it's easier to go on being busy. Or it's easier to go on being concerned about what other people are thinking or saying rather than to find time to be alone with just God. Or it's easier to keep accumulating things that we think will make us secure rather than to be silent and to listen for what God has to say. But if we, just like Jesus, are willing to go out into the wilderness, if we're willing to face these lies, if we're willing to begin to carve just a little bit of time out of our daily lives in order to find and to face the truth of God's belovedness for us, we indeed will discover that we are blessed and that we are beloved just as we are. Don't need to do anything else in order to be blessed and loved by God. It's not always easy for us to believe this, and it's even harder for us to live into it, but it is the truth. And it is really the only truth that matters. And this truth is the good news.